was worse than the last Seagal film we just reviewed.
Oh, no. Well, we have 2 more to go this year.
Sniper Special Ops. This stars, well, quote-unquote stars Steven Seagal.
It's more of Steven Seagal just kind of sitting.
It's a cameo. And it's also got wrestler Rob Van Dam. Now, when we heard that Rob Van Dam and Seagal were in a war film together, I got pretty excited. I thought there's some good potential there. Maybe we could even see a Van Dam versus Seagal fight. We got none of that. Rob Van Dam does nothing in this movie. I mean, he does more than Seagal does. I'll give him that. I mean, he's predominantly featured in the film, but he's just kind of standing around. And he delivers a few lines here and there. He doesn't really do anything over the top. Pretty much any fight scene that he's in is a gunfight, and a very poorly shot one at that. We see no martial arts from Rob Van Dam. We see no cool stunts. He is completely wasted. His talents are 100% wasted in this film. Now, Steven Seagal, on the other hand, I talked about in Code of Honor about how when you see a Steven Seagal movie, a direct-to-DVD one with him, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because he'll either be predominantly featured in it, or he'll be somewhat featured in it, like in Code of Honor, or he'll be barely featured in it. In this movie, Seagal has, without doubt, no more than 10 minutes of footage, if even that. Mm-hmm. His screen time is so minimal, and 90% of it is him sitting in a chair, staring out a window. You could just tell he had nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah.
He's not the main character, but of course, he's top billed. And as Austin pointed out to me, Rob Van Dam is billed as Van Dam. So you know that they were totally trying to market this as, oh my gosh, Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme for the first time on the big screen together.
No.
The rivals in real life have finally done a film together. No, BS. It's Rob Van Dam, and he barely does anything. The plot? There is no plot. This movie, it's not just the fact...
Literally, an hour of this movie is all in the same location of them just sitting there deciding what they're going to do next.
Yes. This movie is so just boring and underwhelming. You would think a Rob Van Dam and Seagal direct-to-DVD film could potentially be a lot of dumb fun. It's not even that. Like we said how Code of Honor wasn't dumb fun. Code of Honor was a breath of fresh air in comparison to this, because at least there was action in it. At least Seagal was somewhat featured in it, and he was doing some funny stuff. There is no so bad it's good quality to this sniper movie. Like, it's boring. People are just standing around talking. And it's very... I will give it credit. It's not a super long film. It goes by fairly quickly, but...
And even when it does get into the very minimal amount of action, it's so poor.
It's lame.
It's so poorly done. It's so poorly shot.
Yeah.
CGI everywhere. It's just boring.
Some of the characters, especially the reporter character, is very annoying. There's just nothing to this movie. Guys, don't see this movie. Give it a hard pass.
It was nothing.
This was worse than Code of Honor. This is probably the worst direct-to-DVD film we've seen so far this year, off the top of my head. So, yeah, give this movie a pass.
Yeah, was it even worse than the ending of Diablo?
Yes, because at least Diablo had some entertaining stuff building up to it. All right, well, we just got done seeing Standoff. This movie can be seen on Netflix. It's direct-to-DVD, and it stars Thomas Jane and Lawrence Fishburne. This movie has a very standard and predictable plot. Lawrence Fishburne is a hitman. Innocent girl sees Lawrence Fishburne kill people. Innocent girl runs for safety and goes to Thomas Jane's house. Thomas Jane protects her from Lawrence Fishburne. There's a standoff. The whole movie is the standoff. So it's one of those movies where there's kind of this suspenseful premise, but it's mostly just building up to the climax. There's not too much going on in between, just dialogue and just kind of anticipation for something to happen. So with that said, it is predictable. It's very standard, but Lawrence Fishburne in particular and Thomas Jane do an excellent job leading the film. The young actress that plays the little girl, I thought she actually did a really good job as well. And since this movie is mostly about building up to the climax, and it's mostly just kind of filling dialogue between Lawrence and Thomas. I thought the dialogue was pretty good. They did a good job keeping your attention, and the action scenes, while very, very minimal, obviously, I thought were well done for the most part. And probably the best thing I have to say is this movie is very well shot. This movie has some very, very pretty camera work, I thought. There were some very memorable shots of the film that kind of helped keep the dark tone of the film consistent and suspenseful. So despite being a very familiar story and one that's not, unpredictable, I still enjoyed watching it. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. For a Netflix watch, yeah, I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have Netflix, definitely check it out. There's really not much else to say. I guess if I did have maybe one complaint, since it is one of those kind of movies, a movie like Phone Booth, again, kind of the kind of movie it's all about just building up to a violent climax. It's not a bad climax, but it's definitely not as... It could have been better. It could have been a little more action-packed. It could have been a little more satisfying since the whole movie's building up to it. It wasn't a letdown necessarily, but it could have... I was expecting a little bit more, I guess. But it was bloody. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say it's worth a Netflix watch. So yeah, Standoff, overall positive.